There's only one thing that fantasy managers love more than mock drafts at this time of the year.
What is it?
You guessed it right, rankings. And in this episode, we're gonna run down a secret weapon that people are not using to help you in your fantasy basketball points leagues. We believe every NBA fan should support fantasy basketball content. So the thing that really motivates fantasy basketball managers is money, right? When people have money in mind, their prize money, whether it's money that they're making with daily fantasy, they are so pumped up, but also they put a certain level of care and attention into what they're doing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at the average draft position, the ADP, for best ball on Underdog Fantasy. And I believe that data will help us to understand some of these trends that are happening in points leagues. So I get it. I know this is unconventional. People are not looking at best ball data to help them make decisions in season-long fantasy basketball. So I understand that, but bear with me. This is something that I do all of the time. I look at every piece of data that I can gather for points leagues, and this is how we stay on top, and this is how we rack up tons of championships. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of the information that you're gonna see is not in line with maybe what you would see on ESPN or Yahoo, but it shows that people who are spending money right now investing in their best ball team are focused on fantasy basketball through a points league lens. It's just a little different. So we'll run down and we'll see if we see anything that stands out. So the top of their rankings, their average draft position rankings are very, on brand with everything we're seeing in other spaces. Nikola Jokic at 1, Giannis at 2, Victor Wembanyama at 3. SGA is at 4. His average draft position is 4.7. It looks like Jokic is a clear number 1 in terms of his ADP, and then it looks like Giannis and Wemby they could flip-flop, right? At number 5 here, we got Luka Doncic, and I'll also note that I might not do the numbers all the way through. I'm up to 5 right now. I'll do my best to keep up. Bear with me because they don't have it listed 1 through 50. They actually just have their ADP. So right now I'm looking at SGA at a 4.78 ADP, and Luka is also 4.7. So we'll keep pushing through, but this is pretty much on brand with what we're seeing in the ESPN Points League mock drafts that we're doing right now. So Anthony Edwards at the 6'8", it looks like. So he's here at 6, but his ADP is 6'8". At 7, we have Paolo Banchero at the 7'1". Cade Cunningham, average draft position of 7.8. So this is huge. So I've been on the hilltop, super high on Cade Cunningham. And this is a clear indication that what we're seeing in best ball leagues right now is people are really putting Cade Cunningham in that first round category, in that first round conversation. Paolo Banchero, that's a little high for me, but also it's something we want to pay attention to. Anthony Davis down here at 8.9 ADP seems a little low for me, but something we want to pay attention to. Domantas Sabonis, 9. And then rounding out the top 10, I believe, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I'm going to stop counting, y'all. I'm going to stop counting. Domantas Sabonis would have rounded out the top 10. And then at 11, we have Trae Young. So Trae Young is definitely someone people are drafting here in best ball, and we want to just pay attention to that. So let me get my scroll on here and take a look at who's next. So Scotty Barnes, this looks way too high, but I see people in ESPN mock drafts right now kind of fading Scotty Barnes in that second round area, late second round area. And I'm seeing him go even in the third round. So this is interesting to see that Scotty Barnes might go higher here in best ball. One thing that's worth noting about best ball is that they only have 3 positions. So it's guard, wing, and bigs. And many folks build their rosters on a positional level, right? So that might be one of the reasons why Scotty Barnes is so high. Then Jaylen Brown, again, very high at 13.3. Then we have LeBron James ADP here on best ball at 14.3. This is huge. So Jaylen Brown being that high doesn't make sense to me for a points league, but are they sharing something that might be a signal that we need to pay attention to? And that's why I want us to look at this data. I don't want us ignoring best ball rankings right now. I want us to also include that in the ecosystem of data that we're going to be getting. So we share ESPN rankings because they're public. We have my main man, D-Mac. He's going to do a category league special about ESPN average draft position. So you're going to get that data as well. But we don't want to ignore this, folks. Next up, we got Karl Anthony Towns at the 6.4, right? So that's huge. He's going way higher than that in traditional ESPN points leagues, but this is a signal we want to pay attention to. Then we have Devin Booker at the 18.08 ADP. Then we got Alperen Şengün also at 18, and we have Pascal Siakam at 18.8. So I am not that high on Pascal Siakam, but the more and more people talk about him and the more I see him go in that second round in points league drafts, the more I pay attention to it. So I'm not so stuck in my ways where I'm going to neglect what these trends are saying. So if in fact Pascal Siakam is in that area of the second round, I might have to take him. This next player I'm definitely interested in, coming in at 19.7 ADP, Jalen Johnson. Again, this is someone in ESPN projections is way lower, right? You have to actually pull him up right now. That's one of the players that ESPN doesn't have right in terms of projections, but very sharp fantasy basketball managers in these mock drafts, the experts in these mock drafts are actually drafting him in that second round area. So this makes sense here for me. Jalen Williams, I'm seeing going later, but him at the 20.2 ADP, I'm not mad at that. KD, I'd like to see higher. He's at 21.1. If you draft KD in the second round, top is off, boobies is out, hair blowing in the freaking wind. Your man is cooking with hot bacon grease, and if you get him on your squad, you will be cooking as well. Next up, we got James Harden at the 21.7. I think that is tons of value for him to be his average draft position being in the early 20s. I think is tons of value. I think he might produce at a top 12 level, first round level, right? You can get him in the second round, but I think he's going to produce at a higher level. Jalen Brunson at 22.6. This is strange to me because for ESPN ADP, and this is a mix, ESPN's data right now, I believe is mixed with both Roto head-to-head categories as well as points leagues. I think they're taking all three of those and providing their ADP data, and he's high. He's in the first round. People are drafting your man Jalen Brunson. So for me, I'm okay with it, but I see him going higher than that in actual points leagues this season. Then we got my man Bam Bam Adebayo at the 23.4, and this one is shocking. At 24.4, we got your mans in him, Josh, the Giddler, Giddy. Wow. People like, what? That's crazy. It might be a positional scarcity thing. I don't know what that is, but that's wild to me. Next, we got Amin Thompson at 25.6. Then we got Cooper Flagg at 26.1. Yo, the Cooper Flagg hype train thus far is undefeated. Yo, your man is lighting the internet up right now. People are drafting Cooper Flagg in the third round in most of the mock drafts we're doing. It started off as he was getting drafted at the back of the third, early fourth, moved up to the third. There's a strong possibility that people are going to be reaching for Cooper Flagg in the second round, early second round. I can see a world where that happens. And you might even have some Dallas Mavericks Duke stan draft him in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes at the back end of the first round in some younger leagues, right? So let's see what happens. Then we got Donovan Mitchell at the 26.6. That's wild. Cooper Flag goes before Donovan Mitchell in a best ball draft. That is wild work. Wild work. And then we got Franz Wagner at the 27.7. LaMelo Ball all the way down at 32.3. What? That's wild. Then we got Steph Curry, 32.4. Evan Mobley, 32.9. Ja with the blicky in the club on live stream Morant at the 33. Then we got Tyrese Maxey, wow, at 33.4. What is happening? I'd be curious to know how many best ball drafts have occurred, because that, I don't agree with that, and I think that's staggering value. Like, you get crazy value. Shocking. Then at the 35.1, we got Joel Embiid. That is not shocking. That makes sense. 36.9, De'Aaron Fox. Chet Holmgren, 38.4. Tyler Hero at 39.2. And at the 39.9, DeMar, not like us, DeRozan. You don't see pop person? Run the wrong rock person. They not like us. No, I'm sorry, y'all. I just cannot help myself. Every time I say DeMar, not like us, DeRozan, I break out into song and dance. I apologize. My bad. Okay, so at the 40.9, we got Derek White. Denny Avdia at the 41. Huh? What? Where they do that at? Obviously, they do it everywhere, because people are drafting Denny Avdia like 4th round, 5th round. Like, I'm seeing him go. He produced last year. I get it. It makes sense, and he likely will. It's something about Denny. I'm not there yet. I just haven't committed. Maybe before draft season comes, I'll raise my hand and say, I approve drafting Denny Avdia in the 4th round. At this present moment in time, I cannot do that. I cannot. Next up, we got your mans in them, Zion, how the mighty have fallen, Williamson at the 41.3. Then we got my man Zubats at the 42.3. Julius Randle at 42.6. Jaren Jackson Jr. My apologies. I think I went a little too far. Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 44.9. Then we got Kawhi Busted Thigh Leonard at the 46.7. Brandon Miller at the 47.6. Wow. Like, Brandon Miller is someone we need to circle on our draft boards right now, guys. We need to pay attention to this young man. I think that's value at 47.6. Then Dyson, the Merchant of Theft Daniels, a.k.a. the Burglar, at the 49.8. Trey Murphy the third at 49.9. I'm not that crazy about Trey Murphy in points leagues. I don't know. I'll draft him, but I'm not drafting him before this guy at 50.1. Desmond, bring the pain, Bane. I came to bring the Bane, all court to your brain, at the 50.1. Then we got Jimmy, $100 cup of coffee at the 50.3. And then rounding out the top 50, we'll do a few more. At 50.3, we got Miles Bridges. 52.6, we got Jalen Green. 53.9, we got Vucevic. 54.5, we got Jamal Murray. And 56.6, we have Jalen Duren. So a couple of things that stood out to me. First of all, Cade Cunningham being clearly cemented in the 1st round. I love that. I agree with that. Where you grab him, I would probably grab him in the late 1st round, but it looks like they have him more in that 7 category. But hey, I'm okay with you reaching for Cade. In a category league recently, I saw in a mock draft, an expert mock draft, he went number 2, which is wild. Next up, I'm looking at how high they have Paolo Banchero. That's something to be aware of. That's something that might work for some folks. Me personally, it's too expensive for my taste. I'm not drafting Paolo Banchero in the first round. Another thing that stood out to me is how high Jaylen Brown was. He was at 13.3, which is crazy to me, but it also makes me think we need to do a little bit more research on what's happening in Boston, maybe pay attention to some of the beat reporters to see if they're getting a pulse, because it could be a Jaylen Brown year trying to really boost his stats and make sure he's all-star status, or it might be him getting rested and only playing 50 games this season. So we want to pay close attention to that. And then the last thing that really was worth noting is how the older guys are lower in this ADP ranking list. So we have James Harden at 21.7, Kevin Durant at 21.1. Both of those guys could definitely be, second round. Even James Harden could be a late first rounder if you wanted to, but they're both definitely second round guys. So just pay attention to them. And then Steph Curry, of course, down at 32.4 for this best ball ADP rankings list is something that we want to pay attention to, because if Steph Curry continues to fall, you could probably take advantage of that. So you might want to circle him on your draft board. Now that you know the top 50 underdog best ball rankings, check out this episode with the top 100 ESPN points rankings.